What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode, is the word, of rendition of Occasionally Coherent. I am Captain Kreegs, here with my co-host, KC, and today, that is all we have here. No Goose today. Like we said last week, we are in the middle of a lot of changes here in the family, and Goose had a prior engagement that he had to get to, and we're not even recording on our normal day, and life is just an absolute shit show right now for us. And I think it's probably going to be like that now for, I don't even know how long. A long time. 10 years or so, maybe.
I mean, how old are we? It's been going.
Okay, why do you got to even bring it up, first of all? Like, it's not relevant.
Just so everyone's aware, Captain Kreegs is going to be 30 this year, and he's having a hard time with it.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. It's not real. But yeah, so I'm going to be turning 30. Casey's going to be 28. Yeah, so we're kind of right in the prime of where, a lot of big life things happen. Where you start to get adult money to spend to go do fun things. And so yeah, and I'm in the middle of a home renovation kind of project. We were actually just working on that before we started recording here. We're trying to, get work done when we can, when we're available, right? So life is busy. Goose sends his regards, wishes he could be here, but he had to go do something else. But anyway, me and Casey are here, so you know that probably means Star Wars. We talked last week that one of the, dare I say, probably the biggest current Star Wars IP, Mandalorian, just finished up its season 3, and both myself and Casey watched it. Some episodes we watched together, some we watched apart. Both of us huge fans, so we want to talk a little bit about that, and it's kind of on theme because this week is May, and National Star Wars Day is May the 4th.
Yeah.
As in, May the 4th be with you. Exactly. So it kind of all blends together nicely. I know last time it was me and Casey we talked Star Wars, but
I was going to say, we're at 2 Star Wars episodes in a matter of a month. Like, we should probably, apologize to the 6 listeners.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? And when it comes to Star Wars, me and Casey can talk endlessly. So it's no surprise. But anyway, first things first, Casey, overall impressions, I should say, of Mando Season 3.
So, it's not by far, but definitely call it the worst of the 3 seasons that they've had of the show. But as far as quality goes, if you're gonna give them each a grade, it has the lowest grade of the 3, and that's not a bad thing, because it was still a very good season of Star Wars TV. For me, and I look at it from probably a more optimistic lens than a lot of people do. For how long were we waiting on a live action Star Wars TV show?
Right.
And we have that. So for the most part, it's going to take it to be really, really bad for me to not like it.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It wasn't a step back like some people are calling it. It wasn't a disappointment or anything like that. It just, there was definitely some stuff that didn't need to be there. There were some decisions that they made that I didn't necessarily agree with, but that's happened in every piece of Star Wars media that's come out in the last now 10 years probably. Since we're coming up close to 10 years since Force Awakens came out. Kind of the start,
are we really?
The start of Disney's era of
God
Star Wars.
Damn, we're getting old.
It's one of those things, and I love us Star Wars fans, I really do, but boy, do we kind of suck at times.
I would definitely agree with that.
I think that came through. That came through with some of what's being said about the current Mandalorian season and the current state of Star Wars, for that matter.
Right. Yeah, to piggyback off that, I would say that us as Star Wars fans are... I mean, we're starved for content still, I would say. Because for the longest time, we had, like, nothing. You know, the sequel trilogy didn't really scratch the itch, you know? It didn't... I don't know. It's tough to say. But with this Mando show that's come out, it spun off Boba Fett, right? And then now we know we're getting an Ahsoka show. All right. Sorry about that. Casey just informed me we were having some microphone issues there. But we're back, carrying on with our conversation here. Just had a couple minutes here. We had to fix that. I'm sure Casey will put a little blurb at the start saying apologize for the last 6 minutes of ear melt. But anyway, so we're getting an Ahsoka show. So we've been getting some Star Wars content, right? And because we didn't get much Star Wars content for the longest time, what we do get is going to be scrutinized heavily, right? It's going to be looked at under a microscope. Whether that's fair or not, it's hard to say. I'm probably of the party that says that it is fair, because Star Wars it's got to be top 5, if not top 2 intellectual properties in the entire freaking world. It's huge. So when Star Wars fans, are a little harsher on it, I get it. But I kind of echo what Casey said with it's going to take Star Wars to be absolutely awful for me to really not like it. I'm a fan. I'm able to enjoy, Star Wars, Marvel, the things that I'm passionate about. I'm able to enjoy them for what they are and not have to look at it as a critic, right? I'm able to enjoy the content. So, and Dave Filoni, who's one of the creators of this Mando show, we as Star Wars fans owe him an unpayable debt. What he has done for Star Wars over the last few years is incredible. He didn't single-handedly do it, but he had as big a part as any in basically bringing Star Wars back in front of us. He directed a lot of the Clone Wars animated series. He's directed Bad Batch. He directed Mando.
Created Rebels,
right? It's so to say that something he made is garbage and it's a step back is doing such a disservice for what he's done for Star Wars in general. So like literally anything Dave Filoni makes, I'm gonna be a fan of because that dude is incredible. So I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with people calling Mandalorian a step back because that is kind of the general consensus that I've seen out there. But on the other hand, I do agree that it is that Mandalorian and anything Star Wars needs to be looked at under a microscope and be scrutinized. I would say that it's certainly not the strongest season in general, but I don't know if I would rank it as the lowest of the 3 seasons because it didn't beat around the bush. It told the story that it needed to. I can think of maybe one episode in the whole season that did not need to be there. That was pretty pointless because they basically told a story that could have been told in 30 seconds of screen time in 45 minutes of screen time. And then it also was overshadowed by, really ridiculous cameos and stuff like that. But overall, it it was what it was, right? Like, it didn't lie to us about what it was going to be. They introduced Bo-Katan in season 2 of The Mandalorian, and so it's like, okay, well, we can't just leave it alone and be like, oh, okay, well, just so you know, Bo-Katan's out there, right? She's out there doing God knows what. They're like, we need to wrap up that storyline because this character, Din Djarin, is a Mandalorian. And last we saw, Mandalore exploded.
Not exploded.
Well, it got bombed.
It got glassed by the Empire.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, we really do need to wrap that up, and that way we can bring this full circle back around where now it's just Din and Grogu, and now they can go back on an adventure together because that's, at the end of the day, that's what this show is about. It's about Din Djarin, our Mandalorian, and Grogu, his little the child. So it did what it was supposed to do. I enjoyed it, and I'm happy.
Yeah, I again, I think it was great TV, and the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian have been some of like the best TV that I've been able to watch. So in the 3rd season, it was great stuff. I love the fact that they seem to have taken some of the complaints that we had about the first 2 seasons, which was the super short episodes.
Mm-hmm.
They've definitely
big difference this
that's
season.
Kind of got thrown out. We had some pretty decently long episodes, and it was kind of like a nice mix. Like one week it'd be a 40-minute episode, then the next week we'd have a 59-minute episode. Like,
right.
It was a pretty good mix, and that's what I like to see. It's like, okay, the episodes aren't just gonna have a hard stop at 45 minutes. Did the episode tell the story that it needed to tell? Great.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we'll end it. Whether that's at 45, whether that's at 50, whether that's at 30, it doesn't matter there. And I think they've definitely cleaned that up quite a bit. And then, I mean, as far as the story that they're trying to tell, and we can start to dive into that a little bit. I don't think we've really thrown much spoilers out there yet, so I'll throw a spoiler alert out there now. Before we dive into actually what happened in season 3 of Mando, and they've done a great job, and I really am looking forward to what they're gonna do next with this era of Star Wars, which is the New Republic era, and that's establishing where the New Republic went wrong and how the First Order basically was allowed to become what we see in the sequel trilogy. And they're doing a great job of that, and it seems like we're going to be adapting the Heir to the Empire story as much as you can adapt something that's like, a lot of the stuff's already been no way can that happen, but
just based on what they've already done.
It seems like they're adapting the Heir to the Empire story with Grand Admiral Thrawn and making that into what this overarching narrative is, which is a fantastic thing for them to be doing. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's a huge props to Timothy Zahn, because a lot of people say that he's like the only great Star Wars fan fiction writer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, up until now, it was fan fiction, right? Now it's canon. But a lot of people are of that mindset where, if Timothy Zahn didn't write it, I don't want it. And so it's very cool that Grand Admiral Thrawn is kind of the overarching villain because A, it's an incredibly deep character, and B, he just looks cool, man.
Yeah.
He's a big blue dude with bright red eyes, and it's really cool. And he's known as a incredible military strategist and an incredible deep thinker, which allows the character to have depth as well. And it's very, very exciting that he's going to be making his way into Star Wars canon.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Heir to the Empire was a classic that I think I read it. Might have been in high school when I read it.
Probably, yeah.
But that's really cool, and I actually have a signed copy of that.
Right.
And that's one of my prized Star Wars possessions. So
right.
I'm pretty stoked. I think that there's a big story that they're trying to tell. I think probably on their side of things, they might feel a little bit pigeonholed. And okay, how do we explain this? How do we explain this without breaking the story that they've already established? That's kind of what can end up happening when you're telling stories in different eras, that ultimately the era that you're telling the story in was maybe affected by a different one that you haven't told those stories yet. So I'm trying to I don't envy at all who's trying to map all of that out for them.
Right.
But as far as my overall rating of the season 3, so season 1, I'm giving that one a 10. Like on my scale of how I would rate things, I would give that one a 10. Season 2, a strong 9.5. Same. We still had a couple of filler episodes in season 2 that I didn't think were absolutely necessary. And then season 3,
Frog Lady.
Yes, exactly. Season 3, it's probably around an 8.5 for me. 8.
Wow,
5.
that much of a drop.
Yeah.
I would basically put season 2 and season 3 on the same level, if I had to. I mean, season 1, it's kind of a obvious thing where you basically got to give it a 10 because of what it represents, right? It represents a whole new era in Star Wars. It brought millions of new fans to Star Wars and brought back millions of old fans, right? So it's tough to not give it a 10. But then I would even say that season 2 had more filler episodes than season 3 did. So I would say the story of season 2 is probably better than season 3. But like I said before, season 3, it told us what it was going to do, and it did that. The one thing that I do have to complain about as far as story goes is they showed us for the first time ever on-screen mythosaur. And that was that. It ended. There was so much hype around that. The fact that we saw a mythosaur, an animal that, in Star Wars canon is long, long dead. And we saw it. And then it was like, okay, well, it represented something. You don't actually get to see it. So that was pretty disappointing to me.
I was pretty disappointed in that, too. I was fully waiting for the mythosaur to burst from the underneath the glass, and here's this magnificent beast that now, like, that was, like, for me, I was hoping that was going to be what united all of the Mandalorians. Like, they were able to unite and ultimately win, but I was hoping that would be what united them.
Right.
A lot of people online wanted Din Djarin, the main character, to be the one to tame the mythosaur. Other people wanted Bo-Katan to do it. Other people were trying to say that Grogu was going to do it because he has.
Dude, I hate the people that are shipping Grogu as a Mandalorian. I hate that so much.
No, he's a Mandalorian. They need to stop shipping that he's going to be a Jedi, I think.
Really?
Unfortunately, I think that needs to go away because he's not. He gave up. Like, he's still.
I don't know if it's possible for him to not.
I think it is. He's still going to use the Force and probably continue to.
And that's it? You think that's going to be it?
Like, the idea of Grogu wielding the lightsaber, I think people are going to have to give up on that.
You say that knowing the fact that they announced a movie where Rey is rebuilding the Jedi Order? You still are like, Grogu's not going to be a part of it?
It's going to be tough to say. I've gone.
I mean, that's a whole nother conversation we could have.
We've talked about it, and when we talked about them announcing that movie and whatnot, we brought up Teenage Grogu. I might have even been the one who brought it up, but the more that I've been thinking about it, the less likely I see that happening. And part of it is it seems like these things that fans are shipping and really want to happen, ultimately it's not what's going to happen. Like, there's a lot of things that we wanted to happen and see in season 3, and that wasn't the case. Like, and sometimes it almost feels like the filmmakers and the showrunners, directors, whoever, kind of do that. Like, they see what we're trying to make happen or want to happen, and then they're saying, nope, we're going a complete opposite direction. And there are times where you can kind of see, like, okay, by you going in that complete opposite direction, you completely screwed up the whole story.
Right.
Just because you wanted fans to be wrong, and we've seen it where you feel like that has happened in Star Wars too. I would liken the sequel trilogy to that, where the second movie of the sequel trilogy, The Last Jedi, fans had so many theories on what was going to happen, why was Luke on this island, who are Rey's parents, like all this stuff, and basically it was, here's pretty much the opposite of everything that you predicted, and here it is as the movie. And then the next movie, they spend the entire time going completely even further from the opposite. Like, okay, now we've established all this stuff from the last Jedi. Where do we go from there? And then they were just like, nope, throw all that out. We're going again a complete opposite direction. And you feel like
the main reason behind that is the different directors.
Yes, and that's
not an intentional story direction. I don't think anyway.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I'd hate to believe that anyway.
Anyways, bringing it back, I am of the camp where Grogu is a Mandalorian. He's part of the Mudhorn clan with Din Djarin, so he's now Din Grogu. Yeah, which is kind of funny that they decided to do that.
So stupid.
And he's just going to learn how to fight, but I don't think you're gonna see Grogu wielding a lightsaber. I really don't.
Well, so here's my thing, right? Is that when you think of Star Wars, what do you think of? You think of lightsabers, you think of Darth Vader, and you think of lightsaber fights. When you think of Star Wars, you don't think of the blaster fights that happen between Mandalorians. You know? So if they're smart, they're going to put their prized possession, little tiny green Grogu, with the most iconic weapon in all of sci-fi history, a lightsaber. How could you not? Literally, that alone, that image sells merch, it sells viewers, it sells everything. All you have to do is show Grogu holding a lightsaber. It doesn't even have to ignite, and it's going to sell. That's the thing. And in this day and age, it is all about the dollar. It does not matter what people want or what makes sense in the story. It's about the dollar and what's going to sell.
Yeah, and I've had conversations about that too, and I think that one thing that's going to be a real challenge, so I'll call it the casual fan theory. Mm-hmm. I think I haven't talked about it on the podcast before.
You've said that phrase before.
So the casual fan theory, when you have this big connected universe, and right now let's say there's 3 of them, one of them's dying and being completely rewritten already, but there was 3 of them. You had the MCU, DC Universe, and Star Wars. Basically, those were the big 3. They've tried to connect other ones.
It just doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen.
Potentially a new one coming this fall.
The only one that I think was able to nail it, but they had a small enough audience where it worked for him, was the Arrowverse,
right,
on the CW. But
it's DC characters.
But that's DC characters again. But so with the casual fan theory, they're writing these movies and they're writing these shows. They need to have the expectation that at least half of those people watching that they're trying to get to watch it haven't seen the thing before it.
Half?
I gotta say that they have to go into it assuming, because they know that you and me, we know that we watched the old one and we're gonna watch the new one.
Right.
Like they already have our money. They know that. They need to bring in the people wwhose money they don't already have.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
They need to bring in that casual fan that's like, oh, I liked Star Wars as a kid. I'm gonna watch that movie. And they need to go in with the expectation that they're not going to fully understand what's going on. So they're going to have to basically rehash a lot of what's already been said, or make it more of a self-contained story where it's not really going to be affected by the one before it and not going to affect the one after it. The TV shows, they're able to be a little bit more like, yeah, everybody's watching every single show. Mm-hmm. They're able to do that because they know that that's going to be pretty much the same audience over and over again. But when they get to this movie that they're going to be making,
Yep.
they got to go in it with the expectation that there's probably going to be people who are going to go and see this Star Wars movie. Hey, Star Wars movie coming into theaters.
Which one's
watched.
coming first? Do we know?
I don't know I don't think we've gotten much
So
confirmation.
so you're
on
just saying whatever of the 3 that they announced comes first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
They're gonna assume that.
I think I'll single out the movie that's gonna be like the culmination of the Mandoverse that's going on right now.
Sure.
So
which is probably gonna be the first one.
Which is probably gonna be the first one that comes out. I think that one is going to be made. You're going to have the culmination of all of these events, but they're going to spend at least a portion of the movie explaining what's going on, expecting that there's going to be people watching it without having seen it before.
That's so disappointing if they do that.
I think
but I think you're right. I think they can't not.
Yeah, it's the casual fan isn't going to understand what's going on. So that's why it's always frustrating for us fans going like, oh, why, like watching. I'll bring up the Obi-Wan show.
Yeah.
And Jedi Fallen Order because the new game just came out.
Yeah.
So the Obi-Wan show. It made no sense for anybody who's played Jedi Fallen Order for Cal Kestis to not show up in that story at all.
Right.
It made zero sense.
Yep.
But the casual fan hasn't played Jedi Fallen Order and now they're watching this Obi-Wan show because, oh, I know Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
He was in that Star Wars movie that I watched as a kid.
Yep, for sure.
And then who's this guy? So they can make subtle nods and throw Easter eggs out there and all that stuff for the hardcore fans, but it's going to be very difficult for them to be able to pander to the full audience and, like you said, bringing in all that money, which is ultimately what the goal is. As much as we're in it for the storytelling and the entertainment value, and we're very passionate about it, ultimately Disney, who owns
That's
two of those
interesting.
universes, or Warner Brothers, who has the DC universe, ultimately they don't really care about the quality of the product. They care about how many people they can get to go and see it.
That's interesting. I wonder if Disney looks at it the same way that like a general business looks at things, right? So, little business 101 with Captain Kreegs here. It is 10 times more expensive to sign a new customer than it is to maintain one, right?
Sure.
So, in Disney's case, is it more lucrative for them to gain new or maintain current? Because and I think there's probably a ton of external factors that weigh into that too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if Disney Plus is profitable yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah,
and that's a huge thing. But anyway, in the vein of, what's to come here, we've been talking a little bit about, what Mando kind of told us might be coming, based on its undertones and all that. Mm-hmm. May the 4th, Star Wars Day is this week.
Yes.
Thursday. So, and Star Wars Day always brings some really cool stuff, right?
Usually.
And here a few weeks back, at Star Wars Celebration Europe, Lucasfilms announced a bunch of cool Star Wars stuff. So, that being said, I want to get Casey's prediction on something that will happen, something that may happen, and something that you would like to happen but probably won't. I want those 3 things.
Okay, something
for May the 4th.
Will happen, may happen, want to happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the one that you want to happen is you can be pretty far-fetched, and you can elaborate on each of them.
Okay. All right. So something that will happen. We will get. Well, we already know we're gonna get the release of that new Jedi Younglings show on Disney Plus.
Yep, that's true.
So that will happen. I'm not. I won't count that though. So something that.
Are you planning to watch that?
No,
not me either.
Oh, and we're gonna get. Are we getting Visions too?
I think so.
The new anthology of Visions.
I know they've been releasing the title of each episode once a week or whatever.
So something that will happen. Me saying it will happen as a prediction. I would think that we will get another trailer for Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Or we'll get we'll get the footage released of either the Acolyte or Skeleton Crew that they only showed the people at Star Wars Celebration. So we'll get some of
that's
that
right, because they saw footage
released.
Yeah.
As far as what do I, so that was
what will happen.
Okay, so what
do you want to happen?
What do I want to happen? Let's do that at the end. So what's the next? So it was will happen, may happen, and I want to happen. Okay,
Yeah.
So may happen. We will get an announcement of either more of a confirmed release date or release window for the Star Wars Eclipse game.
Ooh,
that we got a teaser for
yeah,
a couple years ago
which
now.
looks insane.
Which looks insane. And they'll announce that it's on Unreal 6 or whatever they're on, Unreal 5.
Yeah, right, because it's going to be the Unreal Engine, isn't it?
They'll do something with that, and we'll get more confirmation as to what it will be. That's
right.
not so that's something that may happen. It's not necessarily something that I'm going to be overly hyped for and want to happen, because you know what I want to happen.
Yeah.
What I want to happen is I need a confirmation on a release date of the Knights of the Old Republic remake.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that we're going to get something at some point on it, because they've already acknowledged that the Old Republic is an era of the Disney
because we're getting a movie on it.
Well, that movie is going to be set even before the Old Republic.
Oh, that's true. The High Republic is the movie.
So my theory is that this Knights of the Old Republic game, they're remaking it completely and basically setting it up to where it can be a fully canon story. So
sure.
they're remaking it okay, here's the story of the old game.
Mm-hmm.
What needs to be taken out or replaced, so that way it doesn't contradict anything, which I don't think much in the original game really would contradict the current canon, but you never know.
Yeah.
I think they talk about the Skywalker lineage and stuff like that, and
sure.
Some of them, so I'm sure that stuff will probably get taken out. But
yeah,
that's what I want to happen.
So the moral of the story is what Casey wants is Darth Revan to be canon.
I need me some Darth Revan. Darth Revan's my boy.
Is the only footage of the remake just the 20 seconds of Revan igniting his lightsaber?
Yeah, and
is that it?
Yeah, I'm sure that's not really anything. That's just a render that they.
Yeah, right. It's fucking awesome, though.
No, because they've announced some stuff on the game. I believe it's changed developers, and we haven't gotten much after that. Star Wars games. It seems like it's apparently almost more difficult than making movies and TV shows to get a Star Wars game off the ground. But,
yeah, no kidding. So. All right, so
what do you got? Yeah,
what will happen? We will get 2 new Lego Star Wars sets. I'll say.
Yep.
One of them will be the new Ultra Collector series or Ultimate Collector series.
Yep.
So it'll be the really big set. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's going to be. Rumor is it's a Chewbacca, which is
didn't we get
kind of
I thought it was
going
to be an X-wing.
No, that's different.
Oh, okay.
That's a different one.
Oh, they save one and announce it.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, I don't know. But we'll get some Star Wars Lego sets announced in some form or another. Usually it's a UCS set. We will get a second trailer for Ahsoka, which kind of will lead into one of my other things. And I don't know if there's anything else that's confirmed. We get the shows and all that. What I think might happen is we get first trailer for Skeleton Crew with Jude Law.
Sure.
So that people can start getting hyped for that.
Mm-hmm.
We also may get... We don't have an exact date for Ahsoka, right? It's just August.
Yeah, I think it was just August.
So we'll probably get an exact date for that. We may even get episode titles for that.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. And we may get a silhouette or some sort of very small footage of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Because as hyped as we are for Grand Admiral Thrawn, the people who don't know are like, who the F is that? Like, why is everybody talking about Thrawn's return and all this stuff? Like, I don't get it. So they need to start building the hype around that.
Yeah.
And then so as far as what I want, this list can go on for a long time.
Oh, right. Yeah. I could have.
But a couple of things that I want there to be an announcement of some sort of live action Cal Kestis. I think that Cameron Monaghan, I think his name is, who's the mocap actor for Cal Kestis and the Jedi.
He's the likeness too, like the
right. They designed it for him to be him. He's been working super hard on the press tours and the hype tours for this Jedi Survivor game, and he's said multiple times that he would love for Cal Kestis to be live action, and I think that we might, or I want there to finally be an announcement saying that Cameron Monaghan is playing Cal Kestis in something.
Set to reprise his role as Cal Kestis
right.
in season 2 of Obi-Wan.
Yeah, right, exactly,
that,
exactly.
Yeah,
so I really want that, because I think that would just be so cool for a character to start in a video game and then end up being on screen. Yeah, because guess what? With the animation. Marvel doesn't even have that.
Yeah, we've seen
Marvel doesn't have a character created for a video game and then made their way on anything.
Yeah,
it would be so cool for that. And then the other thing that I want is some sort of footage for the new games, or potentially some sort of announcement, more info on the movies.
Sure.
So.
Other things that I think would be cool, but not necessarily wants for me. They could announce, here's our live action cast for The Bad Batch.
Ooh, that would be cool. Dude, that would be awesome, because that would include Tamara Morrison.
Or give us here's what Ezra looks like in live action. Yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff that they could announce. I don't think we're gonna get a ton of annouents since we're just coming off Star Wars Celebration.
But Star Wars,
there won't be a lot of stuff that's like, we already knew that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, and I think I told Goose and KC this a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Star Wars has a legit chance to take over the Star Child spot, no pun intended there, for Disney IPs, because Marvel has left that door open for the first time in a long time. Although they might be closing it again with Guardians, based on what I've been seeing, the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But as of right now, the door is open for Star Wars to step into the spotlight.
Yeah.
And they are very much poised to do so. So if they really want to take the reins, they will absolutely put out some killer announcements, via a Disney Plus video release, right? They've done that before. Mm-hmm. Where they do, Kathleen Kennedy just kind of walks through a bunch of stuff, like a Disney Investors Day kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, very exciting. I'm excited. Star Wars seems to be headed in a much better direction finally.
I agree.
And me and Casey promised that the next time it's just us two, we won't talk for an hour on Star Wars. We'll find something else to talk to you guys about. It might not be as exciting, but
join us next time for unsolicited life advice from Casey.
There we go. Yeah, but Lem is paging me for food. So I have food up there. It's probably cold by now, but whatever. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Hopefully we have all three of us next time. But like I said, life is crazy busy right now, so who knows. But thanks.